Pledge by the Honorable Todd Johnson.
May we pray together. Almighty God, we come to you asking for wisdom, for you have said in your word that if we lack wisdom, we can ask for it. So, Father, we seek you to lead us and guide us and direct us, that our words and our actions and our decisions would all glorify you, Father. We pray that we would do the best for those that we've been empowered to serve, for we know that all government is ordained by you. And we pray, Father, that you be glorified through our service here and through our service to you throughout our community. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. At this time, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, we have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Motion by Mr. Hipp, second by Mr. Reeder. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Nick?
Yes.
Okay, just for everyone who's out there, Nick is on Zoom tonight, so I think from Wisconsin, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right,
One more night.
one more night. All right, public appearances, presentation of a resolution 0821 honoring Jimmy Coggins. Mr. Hipp?
Yes, I've got the pleasure this evening of reading a resolution honoring James P. Coggins, Jimmy Coggins, and I'd like to read this resolution, and then we have a framed copy, Jimmy, that we'd like to present to you. Whereas James F., a.k.a. Jimmy Coggins, had an offer to manage a Newberry radio station in 1949 and then purchased the radio station in 1951. Since that time, the radio station has been a Coggins-owned and managed radio station passed on to Mr. James P. Coggins, a.k.a. Jimmy Coggins, after the passing of his father. Whereas, during their careers, James F. and James P. Coggins have covered local, state, and national events with news updates throughout the day. WKDK has kept the public informed on major events such as the JFK assassination and the 9/11 attacks, and continues with this type of critical reporting through the 2020-21 pandemic. With respect to the 9/11 attacks, James P. Coggins was able to record an interview with Joe Palmer, Newberry chief fireman at the time, who called in from Ground Zero a few days after the attack. Whereas, during their careers at WKDK, the Coggins have covered school board meetings, Newberry County Council and Newberry City Council meetings, the tornado of 1984, the flood of 1986, the 2015 American Legion World Series, the eclipse of 2017, and many other events of local interest. Whereas James F. and James P. Coggins have received numerous recognitions, including the Order of the Palmetto, the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame in 2002, Sportscaster of the Year in 1959, Rotarian of the Year in 1997-98, and Rotarian of the Year in 2002-2003. I'm going to deviate a little bit from the resolution right here and say this is by no means inclusive of all the honors that the radio station and you and your father received, Jimmy, but we couldn't get them all on one sheet of paper. So continuing, whereas radio station WKDK has received much recognition, including St. Jude's Radiothon, Newberry County Board of Education, Rotary Club, Newberry Lions Club, Relay for Life, March of Dimes, Red Cross, and the Gamecock Radio Network. Whereas in 2006, the station introduced automation and started broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Soon afterwards, the station was able to stream broadcasts for listeners by way of its website. Again, I'm going to deviate. I listened to you when I was in Tokyo once, Jimmy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Newberry County Council hereby recognizes WKDK and the Coggins family for 75 years of contributions to Newberry County, and more specifically, Mr. James P. Jimmy Coggins, who's with us tonight, for his outstanding achievements and for being a positive reflection on our county. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be published in the official minutes of the Newberry County Council, and a framed copy of this resolution shall be presented to Jimmy Coggins. And it is so resolved this 6th day of October 2021. Thank you, Jimmy. Could you come up?
Yeah. Anybody want to make any comments?
I'd just like to say that he's done a great job, and even besides all those resolutions, every year he would take a student from the school and train them at the radio station, students that was interested in journalism or radio broadcasting. I mean, this is every year. Take the time out of his busy schedule and train them what to do on the radio station. And it just so happens my daughter was one of them. It was. So I appreciate everything you've done for the county of Newberry. And I know that God's looking down on you, and he's thanking you for everything you've done for Newberry County.
Also, I know this was, like you said, not everything, but one of the things I remember is how you would always have, it was Margaret on the Move or whatever, and have the county council come in. I don't know how often, once a month or whatever. I've been on there with the assessor's office to explain reassessment, and so it's been a great community endeavor to keep them educated on what was going on in government. So thank you.
Yeah, Jimmy, can you come on across the list? Yeah, thank you for everything you do. Again, I know we're proud of you. We're proud of everything you've done for this county. We do resolutions. We don't do scrolls. Otherwise, you'd have a scroll.
That's right. That's right. A blessing.
Thank
and
you,
a
Mr.
treasure,
Jimmy.
sir. You truly are.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, yeah.
Jim, this has what I read, and as we said, there you go.
I don't like you like that.
There's no way encompasses all you've done for this county. I appreciate that. And for those two that are listening or reading the write-up, we will, WKDK will be honored at the Newberry Library beginning October 16th. Museum, yeah, that's right, was the library. And the post office.
They're telling some of themselves.
Yes. The 16th is his birthday.
Wow.
Huh? What's that? Today is his birthday?
No, 16th.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair, I would
Do we have a
gladly
motion?
and proudly make a motion in support of this resolution.
All right, do we have a second?
make a
Got a second by Mary. I think we could get a motion by everybody. All in favor?
Yes.
And
Aye.
Nick?
Yes.
All right.
Can I just get behind the mic for a second?
Yes, please.
This won't take long, but I'd be
If you're
remiss.
comfortable in front of a mic.
I'll try my best. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all of the members of our staff, both past and present, for the last 75 years, and particularly the staff that we have now. Secondly, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the many businesses, both locally and otherwise, that we've had the chance to serve over those 75 years. And last but not least, our loyal listeners, because obviously without them, we wouldn't be here. So thanks to them, and again, thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
That's a hard act to follow with Jimmy
Yes, sir.
Coggins and the radio
Yes,
station.
sir.
Again, I appreciate all y'all have done, and when you talk about the businesses and your interaction with them, it's a classic case of a reciprocating activity where everybody respects each other, and it's been great, Jimmy. So thanks again to you, to your dad who's passed, and everybody, but thanks so much. All right, ordinance number 010-2421, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 20th, 2016, as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established codified in Chapter 153 of the County of Newberry Code of Ordinance so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 8.99 acres designated as TMS parcel number 52318 from RS Single Family Residential to R2 Rural. This is the first reading. Ms. Wertz?
The homeowner is asking for the rezoning to allow for 2 manufactured homes, one for him, one for his son. He currently has about 9 acres, which would suffice for 2 manufactured homes. RS Single Family Residential does not allow for manufactured homes, so he's asking to go to R2 Rural for the purpose to allow 2 manufactured homes. As you can see, there is a bunch of R2 Rural contiguous to his property. The staff and the Planning Commission both recommend the rezoning to R2 Rural.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of Ms. Wertz. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Hill?
I'd like to make a motion.
Like to make a motion that we accept it? All right.
Yes.
Is that a second?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Reader. Any other discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you, Nick. Got the aye. All right, item number 4, ordinance number 10-2521. An ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 20th, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established codified in Chapter 153 of the County of Newberry Code of Ordinances so as to rezone 2 real estate parcels totaling 13.38 acres designated as TMS parcel number 27-13-44 and 27-13-4 from RS Single Family Residential to R2 Rural. This is the first reading. Do we have a motion? This be the first reading. Well, let's
That was,
go ahead
the
first.
second parcel was
Second part.
27-13-47.
It is 2 parcels, yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay. You said
Yes.
4.
I'm sorry. Thank you. All right, Ms. Wertz?
Landowner purchased this property with the intentions to put some cattle out on the property. Once coming into our office, we told her that cattle is not allowed in the RS Single Family Residential zoning classification. She's here tonight to ask for the rezoning to R2 Rural to allow for cattle purposes. As you can see, all of the land just right across the road is currently zoned R2 Rural. Planning Commission and staff do recommend the rezoning.
Are there any complaints?
We do have the landowner and some neighboring folks here. I'm not sure have y'all signed up to speak?
I need to, I'm the landowner, I'd like to speak.
Okay, we'll make an exception and allow you to speak.
Thank you. First of all, I just have to tell you guys, regardless of what happens tonight, it was such an honor to be here and see you guys in suits and how I grew up, and to see you guys start with a prayer and still salute our flag. And that is, if nothing else comes out of here tonight, I am going back to the county I'm from and saying we need to be like Newberry County. 'Cause y'all, that brought tears, and praise God for that, because the Lord is on top of y'all, and that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So thank you for that moment. Hi, I'm Steph. I bought the 14.11 acres. It was all one division. My understanding from the trust that I purchased, there was over 100 lots out there. The actual piece used to be 4 separate lots and was set up for 14 trailers. Well, they had asked me if I wanted to do that. I said, absolutely not. So I've already surveyed it back into the cutout, and the part that's kind of squared off will be eventually a home, and then the property around it would be where I'd have some cows. So it's a hayfield, was a hayfield for years. The owner died 12 years ago, and I bought it from the estate about 2 months ago. So I don't really know how Danny feels, or Danny and Diana. I did speak with about 8 other couples who were so pleased. And so they have no problem speaking on my behalf and saying, hey, Steph, we're so glad. We were so nervous it was going to get put back into a development. And because there's 188 acres across the street, that little corner cutout was mine, but it was recently sold. It was 3 acres. The other side's 21 acres. That is already R2, and there's 153 in front of it that's R2. Everyone else is on the lake. So I have no lake frontage. I am my own little division. And that's my main request, is to kind of have maybe 4 heads of cattle out there to help with taxes and be able to keep the agricultural part being eaten up instead of me mowing it every week. So that's my request for tonight. And it was such a pleasure. Thank you guys so much. What an honor. And keep up the good work. That is so cool. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Did we have someone else that wants to speak? Danielle? Since we're letting one go, we'll let y'all go also.
Hi there. So I'm Dan Swenson. We own land right there in the Cypress Point subdivision on the lake. You can see it. So going next to the property that we're talking about, you have to drive through that or past the property in question to get to our subdivision that's on the lake. And my father and I also recently purchased another lot up the point from there. And just to start out, I will say that we respect agriculture and agriculture operators tremendously. My fiance and I run about 250 acres in Newberry County in the Silver Street community, and we run cattle. That's what we do for a living. And as a job, I am a nutrition consultant for a company and work with large farms and agriculture producers across the state, but largely in Newberry County. So we have a deep respect for agriculture and keeping it in our communities. But with that being said, the land that we purchased and that we've invested in at almost $700,000 in that community, we didn't intend on having agricultural land at the entrance of our community. And in recent history, that land has never been in agriculture. It was old cutover, but it has never been in agriculture and wasn't intended to be in agriculture based on the zoning of the previous landlord who had it zoned towards residential, and that was kind of what most people in the community that we've spoken to have thought the intention of that land was for. And just from a property valuation standpoint and looking going forward, we've seen where this happens in small subdivisions like this and can, over the long term, devalue property. And given the tax designations, what would happen, maybe not next year, but in the next decade or decade after that, what the valuation would mean for us as property owners in that subdivision, because it is a small lake subdivision on Cypress Point there. So that's our biggest concern, and we disagree with the rezoning towards agriculture given the location and proximity to that subdivision and housing development.
And I do want to add also, I am in real estate myself and do know property devaluation based on the lakefront community. And even though this property is not lakefront, it does still have lake views. And as we said before, it is the entrance to the Cypress Point subdivision. It's part of the Hickory Bay subdivision, which also has covenants and restrictions already in place that do not allow mobile homes, campers, livestock, things like that. So we would like you to consider to keep it in that subdivision to keep the property value from depreciating. And again, Steph, we love what you're trying to do with your family and your daughter, creating an atmosphere for her to grow up in the country, but unfortunately this isn't country, it is residential, and we think it should stay like that.
Well, and the only reason we bought it was the 188 acres had been purchased right next to us for a hunting land, and it remained a hunting land. They told us for 25 years.
Well,
So we knew that was.
We're not going to get into debate on that tonight. We'll take both of it as information, and we'll,
and also the acting real estate agent should have done their due diligence before the property was purchased on that.
again, we're not
On that.
getting into a debate.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can one of y'all, is this the old Scott Shirley property up there? Is that what that is?
No, it's the Ruby property.
Ah,
You
okay.
guys have been in court 1,000 times.
Gotcha.
I bought it from Jennifer Ruby.
Okay, all right,
What
I
was
know.
the subdivision that this is encumbered under?
It is, it's under the Hickory Bay subdivision
And then
and the Cypress Point
So
subdivision.
they have restrictions.
Yes, ma'am, and I have them.
You do
Actually, I
have-
was told by the county restrictions are not in fact, they were last reported in 1993, and to be an HOA, it has to be reported every year, so it's null and void. I do not fall into that, because I am not part of the waterfront. I am on my own reconnaissance of what the county told me.
But under
All right,
tax.
We're not getting into a
okay.
debate tonight. We will take this as information and we will research it, or well, we'll vote tonight. It goes through 3 readings, so we'll go from there.
thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the land, if I'm looking at this map, and I don't know, it looks like north is up. The land that's south and west of that other big parcel of land, maybe Katie could tell us, what is the zone of that parcel? Looks like a pond's on it. No, the one, no, that one, yes, where the pond is.
It's RS, single-family residential as well.
Okay.
And what I understood, this had multiple lots, and she put it together.
Correct.
So those lines have disappeared on the map because it's been combined.
It was originally 4. She
4.
combined it into one with this cutout for possible home site one day.
All right, so the other parcel that you just said was RS2, is that what you said?
No,
RS1.
This one
RS2,
was-
single family.
Okay, all right,
And this one was too, it was 4 lots.
gotcha. And now the desire is to change this to R2. Okay, what's the wishes of council?
For purposes of getting us to a public hearing so we can hear both sides of this in more detail, I would make a motion to approve first reading.
A motion to,
Not saying that's what I'm gonna stay with, but that's at least to get us to the public hearing.
all right, do we have a second?
I will second that for that exact same reason. We've used that same logic on a couple of occasions.
Yes,
To
sir.
make sure we don't stop this process before we have an opportunity to get all the information.
Okay, so we got a motion, we got a second, we got any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to hear, or at least like to find out what the rest of the residents are thinking.
And I have no problem asking. I asked them to come tonight, and they said we wouldn't have any problems. There's about 8 couples that are retired, been there since the 60s, and said that they were so happy it's getting put back into that. So if they need to come, I'll ask them.
Okay, we got a motion, we got a second. Any additional discussion? I totally concur. We'll move it forward just for the purpose of hearing further detail because, again, sometimes people don't know about meetings and so forth. So if it's for first reading, any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous for first reading.
No, I was opposed.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to know more about the Hickory Bay and the legalities of it being under that subdivision.
All right,
I'll take care of that.
6-1, and I totally concur with you, Mary. The only reason I'm voting for it is just to move it so that we can get additional information.
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
sold on this at all at this point. I'm just to seek additional information. So 6-1, with Mary being the one voting in opposition. Item number 5, 0721, a resolution to ratify acceptance of Commerce Park Avenue and Mid Carolina Court located in Mid Carolina Commerce Park, as well as acceptance of a deed and maintenance responsibility for industrial court. Do we have a motion to represent? Motion by Mr. Reader, second by Ms. Arrowood. Do we have any discussion on this? All in favor? Nick?
Aye.
Okay, that one is unanimous. All right, consideration to approve Central SC Alliance fiscal year 21-22 first quarter, 21, wait a minute, that's supposed to be fiscal year 21. 21-22 first quarter invoice totaling $18,000 recommended by the Economic Development Committee on 09/27/21. Do we have a motion to accept that? Motion by Mr. Reader, second by Ms. Arrowood. Any additional discussion? All in favor? It
Aye.
is unanimous with Nick saying yes, okay? All right, committee reports. Economic Development Committee, Mr. Rick Farmer.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, members of council, delighted to be here tonight. Your Economic Development Committee did meet a week ago Monday night. We had a very full agenda. As always, much of what we discuss happens with respect to projects and contracts, and that's done in executive session. But I will gladly discuss some of the open session items we discussed a week ago Monday. Project updates. Project activity overall continues to be relatively slow, although I did get 2 new RFIs in last week and 1 in today. So perhaps things are getting better on the project front. And so we're getting more attention, and one of the reasons why is because we have more product. We started this year with 1.5 Class A industrial sites. We currently have 4, and we're well on our way to 10. So thank you for all the investments you've made in economic development product. We already have 2 expansions on the book for 2021, both in KRA and CPRO Boats. CPRO Boats announcement took place just yesterday. And we have 2 more that are in the queue, hopefully to come before council before the end of the year. Of course, KRA expansion is done. This was a significant expansion. Just to give you some context, the original project guaranteed $11.5 million worth of expansion. $11.5 million worth of investment. The expansion was twice that at $23.5 million. So KRA has now invested about $35 to $36 million in our community, and by the time they finish hiring, they will be up to around 200 people. So this project has been very successful, and we're very proud of that. On product development, of course, we started construction in August on the new road that will get us across the creek and open up a lot more sites to development. That is ongoing in its early stages. It'll be complete sometime probably next spring, and that will open up 7 new sites to development. So in the space of a year, or a little over a year, we'll go from about 1 site to about 10 sites. Mid-Carolina Commerce Park 2, of course, this is the property in red here that council purchased this past spring. It's 215 acres. We've already had it designated as a Palmetto site. And just recently, council approved rezoning on a couple of residential sites within the park. And so everything is zoned industrial. I just got the new plats in hand. So this continues to be moving along. We do have some questions to answer over the course of time on how we continue development of this park. We need funds for a road, we need funds for a sign and lighting and all of that stuff. But those are questions we'll handle in due time. So we're excited about the continued development of what we've been calling Mid-Carolina Commerce Park 2. This is a schematic that shows the site plan that shows the basic parameters of the plan for this site. It would host 3 large 300,000 square foot buildings, which are significant buildings, all with road frontage to SC Highway 773, and literally less than 1 minute from I-26, which is absolutely huge. We just completed a new drone video on the Fretwell property. Of course, that property is in private hands. It's a very significant piece of property that promises to develop in commercial, residential, and industrial ways in the future. This drone video we completed recently was funded by a $5,000 grant from the Central SC Alliance. Central SC Alliance has funded 3 drone videos in 2021 for us. So we've gotten back $15,000 worth of work for our investment in the Central SC Alliance. This just shows the breadth of Mr. Fretwell's property. To the left, of course, is the entire city of Newberry, and the property in white to the right shows Mr. Fretwell's property. I'm really excited about the potential for this, not just in industrial development, but with residential development and commercial development as well. In terms of prospect development, officially about 2 weeks ago, the state Korea mission was canceled. We had planned to go over there in about 2 weeks, actually, late October, to continue our marketing missions in South Korea. The state of South Carolina has made tremendous headway in building relationships and learning business culture of South Korea, and I've enjoyed being along for that and learning things and making new contacts in South Korea. So we've now converted this to a virtual trip, and so we will be doing hours worth of meetings every night virtually over a 10-day period later this month. So we will still be making contact with a lot of these important prospects. We just won't be doing it face-to-face. Of course, I believe we just approved the Central SC Alliance invoice. Thank y'all for that. Our membership, we are founding members of the Central SC Alliance since 1994. We get a lot of value out of that membership, and thank you for continuing that. I won't go through the list here, but we've had a lot of existing industry contacts recently. I used to call them meetings, now I call them contacts because many of it is virtual nowadays. But there's a lot of activity going on within our existing industry sector. I'm very excited. Generally speaking, they have more business opportunities than they can ever fulfill. Workforce issues continue to be a significant factor with existing industries. And we're missing a lot of opportunities on other investments and job creation simply because we don't have the workforce to support this growing sector. About 2 to 3 months ago, we started advertising the economic development specialist position. We were not successful in that first round. We started a week ago Monday to try to fill that position again, and we'll continue until we meet with success. And also I was asked to serve on a statewide DHEC committee to discuss end-of-life management of solar farms. What do we do when a solar farm gets to the end of its life? You know, is state regulation, is that the right way to handle it? Should the state mandate, decommissioning plans? Those are the kind of questions. We've only had one meeting so far, but it's good to be a part of this process and make sure that the citizens of South Carolina are protected from things that could be avoided. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, that exhausted our agenda for that meeting. I'd be glad to field any questions that council may have.
Anybody got any questions?
This is my soapbox, so you probably already know what I'm going to ask you before
Yes, sir.
I ask it. But where are we on the side of the workforce recruiting? Because I do think that is literally handicapping us at this point as far as existing businesses having such substantial
Yes, sir.
trouble as well as looking
Yes, sir.
at the future.
Workforce expansion goes along with population expansion. In order to expand our workforce, we also need to expand our population. One of the topics we discussed at the previous committee meeting was the possibility of a community-wide strategic plan, of which things like housing and workforce would be elements. I'm a big proponent of strategic planning, and I believe we should tackle this issue. I mean, I think it's fair to say we have a housing issue in this community. There simply aren't enough houses to go around, and the ones that come on the market are snatched up quickly. We are making some progress towards that, but of the 3 subdivisions and roughly 330 homes that are planned, that's really about 1% of our housing stock. So while we're making progress, it is very, very slow progress. I believe a strategic plan and those elements, housing, workforce, population growth, those are things that we could, take a strategic approach to these things in the future and not just kind of, play it as we come. So
That sounds awesome.
workforce continues to be one of the most vexing issues in economic development. Usually we have the other problem. We got less jobs than we have people. We have high unemployment rates. That has not been the case in years. It's interesting, though, out of The state's numbers I looked at last week, there are 688 people currently unemployed in Newberry County, and there's like 500 open jobs. So you would think we'd be able to fill those jobs, but, sometimes the data just doesn't add up, and we need workers, and we have companies that are begging for workers. And so if there's anything that government and council can do to alleviate those issues, I certainly think that's worth exploring. But just diverting away from population growth in general, I believe we could be doing more in terms of workforce development. Council has made some investments in workforce development in the past, and I think that's something else we should continue to explore to make sure that we are doing everything we can to not only improve the people who are currently here, but to bring more people into our workforce.
And let me say, it's not lost on me, this is a universal problem. I've been anywhere
Yes,
from
sir.
Mississippi to New Jersey in the past 3 months, and it's across the board everywhere I've gone. So I certainly appreciate that.
It's kind of a good problem to have compared to the reverse of that, but it's still a problem.
Yes.
Thank you folks so much.
Thank you, Rick, and again,
Thank you, Rick.
workforce development is something we definitely got to get a grip on.
Yes.
Again, I think we tried hard. I think going back to Piedmont Technical College, when we put a major effort there, I think that was a big boost for our county. But obviously, we're still coming up short, but again, it's a reflection or a mirror image of what's going across the country, not just Newberry County at this point in time. So thank you for your report, Rick.
Buddy, also, we were required by law at some time back, I know we did a 10-year comprehensive plan. And that comprehensive plan had some of those elements that Rick has mentioned and incorporated in that plan. I don't know how we are as far as implementing that plan, and I also don't know when we're due to create another comprehensive plan, but that's something that sounds like we need to make sure that we give a lot of priority to, Rick.
Yes, and I think that should be surfacing again soon. All right, item B under committee reports, Public Safety and Courts Committee, Tommy Long, Emergency Services Coordinator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee met this past Monday night. We had 2 items on the agenda. The first one was the Central Midlands Hazard Mitigation Plan, which we update every 5 years. In order to be able to get grants and so forth, you have to have a current mitigation plan in place. The current one expires at the end of this month, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So we're trying to get our resolution through council by the end of the month, so that at your next meeting, we plan to present that resolution for council to vote on. We will be sending, Taylor will be sending everybody a copy of that plan, because it's about 450 pages, so I couldn't print it out for each one of you. But if you have time before the next council meeting, if you please review it. If you have any questions, please email me, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Our second item on the agenda was the fire and rescue squads are looking or asking the committee to consider passing an ordinance for us to begin charging on certain calls on the rescue and fire side, mainly billing insurance companies, because you're paying those premiums already. So the committee decided to get staff to do some more research on that before we bring it to full council. So those were the 2 items we had on the agenda. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, anybody got any questions for Tommy? Anybody from the committee want to add anything?
I was, in talking with them, I was in Lawrence County. I think I shared with Tony, I was in Lawrence County earlier this week, and they're already doing that. So I think it's worth at least the research. Doesn't mean we'll do it,
Right.
but I think that it's at least worth looking into.
And I understand we're already billing it when we need hazmat.
Hazmat is already billing, correct.
We make a lot of trips down on the interstate, and
That's what's really driven this, is the interstate calls. We run a ton, you may not realize, we run a ton of wrecks on the interstate, almost on a daily basis. So that's what we kind of pushing this toward, is being able to
and
build
just for
in.
those that may have not looked at our committee meeting, this is not intended to bill Newberry County residents. That's what we're looking into, and we asked Tommy to work with our attorney and our administrator to get all these questions and legalities answered.
And
That's
I
correct.
would also say that as part of that, they also talked about the false alarms,
That would be included in this
which
ordinance.
is included in part of that. We have one industry that we've had 3 stations respond to 18 times already this year, which is an incredible waste of manpower and resources. So, that mean, again, none of this means we're gonna do it, but we wanna get more information to bring back to the council.
Correct.
I did observe the committee meeting remotely, and that data that statistic you just gave really got my attention, because when they're out responding to reports of emergency needs, and then we really have a need,
Yes, sir.
they're out responding to a false alarm.
Yes, sir.
And it really slows up their response to a true emergency. So somehow or another, with those kind of numbers, we need to get our hands around
Yes, sir.
that.
Tommy said it been a bunch of times. I said, no, give me the number, because numbers speak. And when he said
Numbers
18,
speak.
it blew me away.
That's just so far this year, yes.
Also,
That's
we
just
got to
one
be
example.
considerate for volunteers. You know,
Right.
they're not getting paid. And,
Exactly.
they're-
You
they're-
exhaust your workforce. It's not like Mr. Hill said, you could be tied up on a call somewhere else, or they could just be exhausted from having been out there all night the night before and not be able to respond the next day. So there's a cost associated with false calls.
And we're not talking about legitimate
Right.
alarms. Some of them have been legitimate, but
Right.
probably 95% of them are not.
Never hurts to explore change.
That's exactly right.
Okay, any other questions? All right, no, thanks, Tom,
All right,
appreciate
thank
you. We're about to go into executive session, but I do want to just take 1 minute just to say, when I look out there tonight and see all the county employees are here tonight beyond their normal work days, just want to say thank you for all of you coming out and being here and being support-based, so if we do have questions. So thank y'all all for being here. Item number 8, executive session, code section 30-4-70. Discussion of employment, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, or release of an employee, a student, or a person regulated by a public body, or the appointment of a person to a public body. However, if an adversary hearing involving the employee or client is held, the employee or the client has the right to demand that the hearing be conducted publicly. Nothing contained in this item shall prevent the public body in its discretion from deleting the names of the other employees or clients whose records are submitted for use at the hearing. Also, code section 30-4-70.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I apologize for interrupting. The second item, we really, after talking with staff today, we really don't need to report on in executive session. There were some requests that we explore a couple of items at the committee meeting,
Okay.
but at this point, that's not ready. So unless you just want to hear that in executive session, we can forego that.
Okay, all right, that's fine then. We'll leave it at that. All right, do we have a motion to go into executive session? Motion by Ms. Arrowood, second by Mr. Reader. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Are we going to keep this? Camera running again? Okay, who would like to report out of executive session?
You got it?
Okay.
Go ahead.
County Council went into executive session to discuss matters pertaining to Code Section 30-4-70A1. I don't think I'm required to repeat all those reasons we went into executive session, but no action occurred in executive session, and we completed our executive session without action.
All right, thank you. We're back in open session. Item number 9, appointments, CPST Commission member nominees. How do we want to handle that, Mr. Tony?
Yeah.
Donald?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is, of course, the follow-up from your establishing the commission a few weeks ago. Since that time, we have gotten various nominations, if you will, from several of you, of the council members. And in your agenda packet, I don't know whether you had a chance to look at it or not, but after we did the vetting and spoke to the members, number one, to see if they were, or to the nominations, to see if they were interested, and number two, to see if they qualified, because some that were proposed or nominated hold positions on other boards, which disqualified them unless they wanted to resign, because that would have been dual office holding. So, long story short, we came up with a final list, a vetted list of 8 individuals, and we're going to share that list with you, and I'm going to suggest hopefully an easy way to get through the voting, which hopefully won't take very long. But this list of 8 members or 8 nominations, again, are those who are both eligible. There is no conflict or no dual office holding potential here if you appoint them. And also, all 8 have expressed an interest if appointed. So, what we would propose would be this. The commission from the county side will be 3 members. You have 3 appointments to the full commission. You also have to appoint 2 alternates in case during this process one or more of the commissioners has to back out. So what we would suggest is that we go through 2 rounds of voting. The first would be for the 3 commissioners. Then the second round would be for the 2 alternates. And if you agree to this and want to do it by paper ballot, if you would simply take your ballot that I think Debbie passed out to you, each of you has 3 votes because there are 3 vacancies. So just check on your sheet the 3 that you want to vote for. Debbie will take those back. She's going to tally them, and hopefully at the end of that process, 3 will rise to the top, getting the most votes. Now, if there is a tie, then we'll have to probably take another vote to work through the tie. But the first round would be everyone vote for your top 3, and only 3. You only have 3 votes, and we'll tally those, and hopefully that will give us 3 appointees after the first round. Does that make sense? Or Yep. Okay. I'm sorry.
He signed off.
Okay.
You gonna need your pen back?
Here you go.
We share.
All right, while they're counting, we do have are you okay with just kind of jumping ahead and getting the rest of it done and then going back to that? Is that okay? Would that be proper?
Getting the rest of
We've got another
the
appointment.
alternate? Oh, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
All right, Upper Savannah Workforce Development, we've had a recommendation from Max Crawford. Do we have a motion that we accept Max Crawford?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Reader. Do you have a second on Max for Upper Savannah?
Mr. Chairman, just, and unfortunately, we've already gone past this first step, but I'm not familiar with Max Crawford. Would somebody share some information?
That's why I was hesitant, I don't know.
I don't know.
We had something, where did I see something about him?
I think he was recommended by our representative, Billy Morgan, who is like the director for Upper Savannah Workforce, as somebody that would meet the requirement that they're looking for. I'm not sure of that, but I seem to recall
It
seeing
is,
something.
I placed a letter, the letter that he sent of it, earlier.
You got it? I saw the letter somewhere. Where, did you just place it at my desk or?
Yes, sir.
I saw it, I'm sorry.
Well,
Normally we have somebody off the county, council person.
oh, here we go. This is by Billy Morgan. It says, "We need your help to enable us to replace a member of the Workforce Development Board. Max Crawford, who was appointed to the board representing Newberry, has been reassigned to another area of WCTL. Stephen Taylor, who did work in economic development for Abbeville, replaced Max with coverage in the Upper Savannah region, including Newberry. He has agreed to serve on our board. I ran this nomination by Rick Farmer, who also agrees that this is a good fit. The Upper Savannah Workforce Development Board brings together business leaders and local leaders from Abbeville, Edgefield, Greenwood, Lawrence, McCormick, Newberry, and Saluda counties to address the workforce shortages. The board is tasked with bringing together resources from separate federal and state programs to connect job seekers with employers. On behalf of the counties, the board makes decisions about workforce innovation and Opportunity Act funds, $1.2 million in 2020. WCTL, Stevens' employer, has helped the board create up-to-date strategies to serve customers virtually. At the start of the pandemic, when the South Carolina Work Office was closed temporarily, SCTL installed a hotspot outside of the center so laid-off workers could connect to the unemployment insurance website. We would like for him to be appointed at the next council meeting so Newberry County can be fully represented. Upper Savannah Council of Governments has been the administrative and financial entity for the board for more than 30 years. The area exceeds performance expectations. The COG is audited annually. A link to the most recent report can be accessed on www.uppersavannah.com under the Documents tab. It has modified opinion with no material weaknesses or question cost. Now is a critical time for workforce development. We helped our countless workers in Newberry County who were laid off during the pandemic. South Carolina Works continues to engage with the unemployed to help them get back to work. If you have any questions about the employment request, please call or email bmorgan@uppersavannah.com. We would love to brief council on the board's activities, but know that council time is valuable. Let us know when the appointment is on the agenda. Thanks for your continued support. This was dated September 9th, the letter. So that's what we got.
I may have misheard. What I heard was Matt Crawford was leaving and somebody
Yeah.
else was coming
Yes,
in. Now, maybe I
Stephen
misheard.
Taylor is who
Steve-
needs to replace Max, or who they are.
So we're not appointing Max Crawford, we're appointing somebody else.
We're replacing Max Crawford,
Yeah.
the way I
Wait a minute now, again, let's go back.
Yeah, maybe I heard wrong.
That's what I
That's
thought
what I
I heard.
heard too.
Max Crawford, who was appointed to the board representing Newberry, has been reassigned to another area. Stephen Taylor, who did work in economic development for Abbeville, will replace Max with coverage in Upper Savannah. He has agreed to serve on our board. I ran this nomination by Rick Farmer. Okay, so we do have the wrong name on the agenda.
It
Yeah.
should be.
Stephen
we're replacing
Taylor.
Max. Stephen Taylor is who they're replacing.
Upper Savannah Workforce, okay, so we would
But
be.
Stephen Taylor, would you also read, is he from Abbeville or lives in Abbeville?
That's what it say from Abbeville.
He did work in economic development for Abbeville County. Will replace Max with coverage in the Upper Savannah region, including Newberry.
But I don't know.
But y'all know, I don't know Max Taylor either, so I don't know exactly. Max Crawford.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like for us to table this
Yes.
an
Well, and here at the
appointment?
bottom, it says if you have, they would like to talk to us, so let's just schedule them to come to our next
Yes,
council.
let's do that. Let's
Yep.
table this one.
All right, that went well.
That was the first time I've seen that. With all that delay time, do y'all have the numbers?
We do, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. There were two that got the top votes, Lisa Toland and Roy McClurkin. They both got 4 votes each. The next highest vote getter is a tie, so that's going to prolong this a little bit. But Mike Reed got 3 votes. Sid Crupton got 3 votes. So to get the third member, we need to vote again to break that tie between Mr. Reed and Mr. Crupton. And you have 1 vote,
I've already done it.
Okay.
and all of the other names should have been marked off except those 2.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I wish we'd actually taken this opportunity before, because there are a few people that I don't know that maybe someone else on council might know that they could have shared some information.
I just leaned over and asked that question.
And, but we're past that point. I'm not asking to reinvent the wheel. However, since we're down to 2 people for the third position, I would like to speak. I know both of these very well. I know very few of those others at all. But I know these 2 very well. I actually proposed Mr. Reed. He lives in my district. He's been extremely active in a lot of ways in helping the community. He's retired. He has a good vision. Anyway, I just like to speak for him, and I'm not speaking against Sid Crumpton because I know him well too, and he's a great guy. But I wish we'd have kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, because I really don't know the 2. Well, I do know Mr. McClurkin, not really well. I don't know Ms. Toland, but and some of these others I don't know at all.
She was on the last one, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Oh, 2, I didn't know 2.
Yeah. So, but some of these I didn't know at all. So I would have loved to have had the opportunity of listening to some other council members maybe talk about them. So in that case, we don't go back, but I wanted to share my thoughts on Mr. Reed. I think he's an excellent person in our community. He's had a lot, done a lot for the community. I think he has a lot of vision.
And I agree with you. I think he is a great person. I also think the other one's a great person too. Both of them are.
Can't go, that's a list of. I think public comments will be easy.
Yeah, 'cause they're all gone.
That's right.
I'm hungry, buddy. I'm hungry.
You hungry?
Yes. I'm hungry. I'm about to turn into a pumpkin.
I might have to go to bed and pray my sugar on the rock.
Okay. The third member will be Sid Crumpton. So
Now we gotta do alternates, correct?
now we got to do alternates, but the members themselves are Sid Crupton, Lisa Toland, Roy McClurkin. So now you're right, Mr. Chairman, we have to do the alternates, and you are hopefully about to get a third ballot with the 3 commissioners that you've just appointed marked off because they're already
Trying to mark them off here.
placed. And then we'll ask for hopefully 1 more vote. Yeah, and you're right. You'll have 2 votes this time because there are 2 spots open.
I don't know some of these. I've seen that name, but
too late.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. That's true. That's true.
Me neither.
Oh, we had one, two, I'm sorry. My bad.
Two. Two's better than one. That's what that advertisement says, two's better than one.
Depends on what it is.
Depends on what it is.
Great. Excellent. We got him on the first vote. Mike Reed and Harry Wirtz will be the two alternates. And just for your information, we're expecting to get the city's appointments. They have, the city itself has two, and then their two appoints a third. So there will be three more coming from the city side, and we're expecting those within the next couple of weeks, I believe. Yes.
Okay. All right, so we are now past that one. We're gonna add the Upper Savannah workforce at the next council meeting so that they can actually come and speak to us on that part. Public comments, we don't have anybody here to speak pro or con. Mr. Tony McDonald, do you have anything as county administrator?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, I think I'm done for the night.
All right, starting on the end tonight down there, of course, Nick has had to sign off. Mr. Hill?
Had all I've had to say.
Okay, Ms. Arrowood?
That's all, folks.
Yeah, okay.
Tucker it out.
All right. I do have one or two, well, I'll go down, Mr. Reader?
I'm good. Matter of fact, I'm getting hoarse.
Okay, and Mr. Scurry?
I'm hungry.
Hungry. Just going back to one thing that I think that was already kind of said, I think as small as our county, but yet as big as our county, and not knowing everybody, next time we do something like this where we've got multiple, if we could have probably a brief resume on each one of them, not an extensive, maybe 3 or 4 lines, would probably be kind of beneficial. So I think that's something we need to do. The other thing that I want to speak to, we voted tonight to give Central SC $18,000. I was fortunate enough to be on the interview committee. Mike Breach, passed away with cancer. I was fortunate enough to be one of 6 on that committee recently, and we chose Nelson Lindsay as the new leader of that. He was also instrumental in helping us land Samsung here in Newberry County. He's got 20 years of comprehensive economic development. Most recently, he was the Director of Global Business Development at South Carolina Department of Commerce, so he does come to the table with knowledge of, a significant knowledge of economic development. He also has worked, I think, with both Richland and Kershaw counties as an economic developer. Again, we had some great applicants, but Nelson was probably head and shoulders above, and I was truly honored to be one of 6 to help make that decision on who was to help serve in that capacity. So, again, if any of you happen to see him, hear from him, welcome him to that position. I think he'll do great job for us. Okay, with that being said, future meetings, Public Works and Planning Committee is 10/18 at 6 p.m. County Council meeting at 10:20. Personnel and Intergovernmental will be at 11:01. Do we want to set up a time for another executive session before we leave here tonight?
I believe we've got to wait to hear back from
No.
Our advisor, don't we?
I think so. I think we were supposed to kind of set a date, we just let him know when he can bring them. Am I right?
I think we could,
We could at least give two dates that we possibly could share out to him.
Okay. Right.
I only have one day next week, but I could tune in if I got a signal. I'm gonna be on vacation. The next week, though,
vacation, I thought you were retired.
I got to get away to have vacation.
It's whatever, you know.
The week after that, which is council again, I got any day. But if needed to be, I could zoom in. If I gotta see.
What date suits best, folks,
I could do Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
of next week?
Yeah.
I could do every day but Thursday.
I can do Tuesday, Wednesday,
I'm on the road next week.
all week.
Pretty much. I could do maybe Monday evening, but I've got a conference at Myrtle Beach that I'm doing some training at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Or do y'all just want to do it on the 20th again? If we go wait and move it to Monday of next week or Tuesday of next week, we might as well just do Wednesday.
That's right.
Right.
Well,
I'm fine with that.
All right, well, let's just do it at our next council meeting. We'll have an
okay.
executive.
We'll know more about,
I could do it that Monday of that week if that would help.
But
any,
still,
but
we're
you-
just 2 days ahead.
Yeah, he's saving
so
no
it doesn't
time.
happen
Yeah,
much.
okay, all right. All right, with that being said, we'll just add an executive session to that particular.
I could do a Zoom, like,
That's okay.
okay.
We can make it happen. All right, with that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned. Thank y'all, folks. That was a long one.